The stage set for tonight's Republican presidential debate, and one of the top issues on the voter agenda is economic growth or lack thereof. Earlier, I was joined by Americans for Tax Reform President Grover Norquist, who weighed in on how to get our country growing again. Listen.
If we'd been growing at Reagan rates during this recovery, we'd have 12 million more Americans at work. That's the human cost of Obama's very slow economic growth. And I'm very excited that tonight we're going to have a real debate with real questions about economics and economic growth and tax policy, because we haven't had that in the last three debates.
Joining us now is former Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels. Governor Daniels, it's great to see you. Growing the economy is about more than just tax reform. What else do you want to hear in terms of kind of returning the country to strong growth?
On behalf of the young people on this Purdue campus and everywhere in the country, I do hope this becomes the centerpiece, not just of tonight, but of the entirety of the rest of the campaign. If we don't get this right, if we remain stuck at these pathetic 2% level growth rates, we've got long-term problems, not just for the American economy, but for the confidence in our democracy. So, yes, taxes is a big part of it. The incredible burden of regulation, which has been piled on in enormous quantities over the last few years. The handicapping of the best thing we have going right now, which is our energy sector. All these things ought to be in the mix, and I do hope that the conversation tonight and continuously till next November centers on it.
And what about the enormous, I said this on Coast to Coast with Neil Cavuto yesterday, these candidates have to talk to people the young people who are getting out of college with enormous debt burdens and then can't get jobs. I had a conversation with my brother, and he said, if you want to work in the tech industry and you can't get into one of the very, very top schools, you're better off just going to work and not getting an education and paying $200,000 for one that still won't get you a job. What can they say about tackling this?
Dagen, you're exactly right. The biggest question facing young people today is there's a double debt question in many cases. First of all, the student debt, which so many of them have, and which is handicapping their start in life and is handicapping the economy. We now know empirically that young people with debt postpone home ownership purchases, they postpone other major durable good purchases, they postpone family formation and childbearing, and they start businesses at a historically low rate. So those are problems for them and problems for the whole economy. And then the other question, of course, hanging over all this, and very much part of the growth question, is how long are we going to procrastinate dealing with the incredible and unfair debt which my generation and those before it have deposited on these young people. You know,
yep.
The average borrower with student debt has maybe $30,000. That same person owes a multiple of that that they'll have to pay off to the federal government in the future.
Governor, it's January 21st, 2017. You've got three items of advice for the Republican president. What are those three immediate steps that he needs to take to help us get the economy moving faster?
A dramatic move toward a pro-growth tax policy, some sort of moratorium or other policy of restraint on new regulations, and perhaps a review or a sunset of many of those on the books now, and a proposal to at least start in a careful way to save the safety net and to reform the entitlement programs, which left on autopilot are going to bankrupt this country, be a punitive, have a punitive effect on the generations, the young generations of today, and in my opinion, even threaten the support for our democratic institutions on which everything else relies.
Right. Governor, it's good to see you. Governor Mitch Daniels. Mitch, people still talk about wanting you to run, so think about it. People bring that up fairly
I held out and got a better job, but thanks for the thought.
Governor Mitch Daniels of Purdue University. We'll be right back, everybody.